It is tier list time. Hi everybody, my name is Abby. Welcome to the video. We're not going to waste any time. Let's get straight into it. It's the mid-season patch. I've played on it for a couple of hours, just exclusively running it down on ranked. And oh my god, and watching some of the games from Pro Play, the tournaments that are going on in Riyadh. I think there's a lot to talk about, so let's not waste any time. Get straight into it. Tracer, S tier character. Do I really need to explain Tracer? I think we all fundamentally understand that even with the small nerf that she got, Tracer's still really, really damn good. Breakpoints are breakpoints, guys. When a character gets a breakpoint change, it does a lot for them, right? Moving on over to the next character, Reaper. I think Reaper's change was decent, and as much as I kind of want to put him in A tier, I feel like Reaper just really, really sucks hard against the new armor. And what sucks is this poor character. There was a time where Reaper countered Winston, and nowadays it kind of feels like you quote unquote pick Winston to counter Reaper just because armor is in such a position where it really screws Reaper over. But once you get through that armor, you can still do really well. I don't think he's an A tier character, although I think he's in a much better spot now than where he was before. He has a good time dueling other characters. His new breakpoints help him a lot. With that, I think his alt nerf was completely unnecessary, but whatever. That's Blizzard for you. Widowmaker, Widow's. Look, Widow on Widow maps, if she's unbanned and with the right character, she's an S tier character. That's it, right? No need to go any deeper than that. That's it. Next character, Pharah. I think Pharah is pretty good, but she's kind of falling off in this particular meta. Again, B tier. I think B tier characters that are okay, you can make them work in certain scenarios and circumstances, and if you're a specialist on the character. Otherwise, they're just not fitting into the current meta. Current meta heavily revolves around sustain, specifically the state of block slop and the way tanks are just being able to outlive everything by themselves. Even the current state of armor is bugged, but honestly, even if they address the block situation, I think armor is still. I really don't like the current state of armor. In 5v5, it's horrible. And then on the flip side, the balances of 5v5 is not being changed for 6v6, and double shield is back over there. But in this one, I'm just talking about the core game mode for 5v5, so we're not going to talk about 6v6. So moving on to the next target, Reinhardt. I hate to say it, like Ryan's really dropped off hard. He's very situational. I'm not saying you can't make him work. There's areas and characters you can definitely make him work against, but for the life of me, I can't put him in A or S tier. He's just really bad. It doesn't help that pretty much all the characters that are good into Ryan, Hazard, Ramatra, Orisa, they all just shit on him. So he's just in B tier for this patch. Mercy. Well, I honestly don't think Mercy's that good. I honestly heard B. Like, she's okay. Again, just you can play her in the right scenario, right circumstance. She's one of those characters that is entirely dependent on her team. If you can make up for the fact that you do have a Mercy and she's pairing with a nice Sojourn, a nice Genji, Freya, a Pharah, in the right circumstances, yes, you can make the Mercy work. But outside of that, she's just situational. Like, I maybe, we'll put C. C for, I guess C is the characters that are a little bit too situational, while the B tier is like, yeah, they're okay, but like C, yeah, situational. Mercy, I guess we can do C as always. It's like the niche, or give me a second, guys. Situational. Okay, there we go. So there we have it. C is gonna be niche situation, right? Torbjorn, I think Torbjorn is really underrated. I think in ranked quick play and even in some scrims, I've had a lot of success with him. I know he's not meta tier of good, but there's maps and places where he can really come alive. I know we're gonna talk about Sim because I think the builders are incredibly underrated right now, except for Sim. Sim is hard meta. We'll get to it. That's a spoiler. Sim is going to S tier. I think people still sleep on Torb. I think Torb against certain tanks does a really, really good job of dealing with them, and he's not that bad of a duelist either. I don't know if I want to put him in A. To be honest, I'll be a little bit more out there, and I'll put him in A just for funsies, and maybe it'll rage bait some people, so why not? Moving on to the next character, Hanzo. I think Hanzo's A. I think people are definitely underestimating Hanzo. His personally, I didn't think he needed all those buffs. Maybe the alt buffs were nice, but everything else is a nice quality of life change. Hanzo's actually really damn good. There's a lot of maps and circumstances where you can 100% make him work. It all just comes down to the pilot, not the plane. If you're good on Hanzo, you can land your shots, you're good with the storm arrows, and you know how to use his ultimate, you're gonna have a good time. You can definitely play him even into the current meta, and he's not that bad at bursting down tanks either. So once you get through that slop of armor and blocking, then Hanzo does a pretty good job of dealing with certain tanks, especially when Orisa enters downtime. Like Hanzo, one headshot with a storm arrow follow-up shot just deletes Orisa most of the time, with a little bit of chip damage from your teammates. So Hanzo, I think generally is underrated. I kind of want to take the risk and put him in A tier. I don't think he's B tier because I've had a lot of success with Hanzo to the point that I have like a near 55 to 60% win rate with him. And I'm playing around like, masters level right now, so it is what it is, right? I think Hanzo's a bit underrated. So if I can make it work over there in the low elos, I'm sure Hanzo's like, he's always been a menace in low elos, so he should be fine. Winston. Listen, I want to put him in A tier. He's not bad, but he's not good. He just can't compete with the sustain meta right now. And once that kind of fizzles out, he'll be fine. And Winston's a fine character. Like he works where he works, and when he's working, he feels like an A tier character. Doesn't I don't want to put him in B tier. I think Winston can work. Like if you get a dive map, Winston's still very very good. Even against the block swap, you can kind of just ignore them, dive the backline, and make the character work. So let's move on to the next one. Zenyatta. I think Zen, as much as I want to put him in A tier, I just think he cannot keep up with the state of sustain. And Iliari is finally back in the position where she's kind of just the better Zen right now because she can survive. She can take longer extended duels compared to Zen because of her pylon. Zen can't really do that. So unfortunately, Zen, I don't know. If this was 6v6, the conversation would be different. But I might put him down in niche or situational. That doesn't mean that he's bad, guys. Just because they're in C tier, it doesn't mean they're bad or okay. It just means that there's like specialists, right? Like if you're a specialist on Zen, on Mercy, you can definitely make them work, but it's definitely going to be hard. Again, he's not that bad into Orisa or Hazard. Ramata is a little bit debatable because again the way of Ram's block works. But I just don't. You know what? I'll put him in beta. Maybe not niche situational, but I don't think he goes into A tier. I can't see it. He blows up way too fast, and a lot of tanks just jump on him now and blow him up. So, unfortunate. However, somebody that will go into the niche situational is Bastion. Bastion, they're trying to buff him. They're trying to bring him to a better spot. I appreciate the efforts, but he's way too gimmicky of a character, and the gimmick alone holds him back. So, moving on to the spoiler from previously, Symmetra on King of the Hill, and also the bigger King of the Hill, which is the, Flashpoint. So, Flashpoint and King of the Hill, which is, I believe they're called Control, right? She's just the queen of those game modes, and her perks are so good at evolving this character. The extra turret, you can use it for so many different things. The beam length makes a massive difference, and when you're farming, like, she, don't forget, guys, like, I believe when she's farming her beam off of shields, like, like barriers, I think, or I don't know if it's barriers or blue HP bars, but she also is like sustaining herself. She's such a threat right now, and if she has a support pocketing her, even a Mercy, like forget the meta support line, even a Mercy pocketing Sim on these type of game modes is a nightmare to deal with. So don't sleep on Symmetra. She's seeing a lot of play even in tournaments, and I think like it's so weird that we're in a time where Sim is meta, right? Zarya, A tier character. I don't think Zarya is bad, but just block slop, and I think Orisa is so powerful right now that she actually just dumps, just shits on Zarya for free. So I can't put Zarya anywhere above like as outside of that, like if she's not playing into like the block slot, I think she's a pretty fair A tier character. Cassidy's meta. I don't really have anything else to say. That fall off change is pretty much all that he needed, but they need to nerf his survivability and all of that. Like we gave him survivability and made him tankier because he had worse fall off. But now that we've given him the lethality, let's tone down survivability. You can't have both. Like the problem with Overwatch's design space and their philosophy is that they think, well, a character should have good breakpoints and good survivability. It's why I really don't like the state of 5v5 tanks. Is they're allowed to have everything. They can survive, they can do good damage, they can be lethal. It's just not fair, right? So Cass is one of those characters that's in that area as well. Is let's tone down his survivability a little bit, right? It's way too silly for how many things he can survive against. Soldier 76, I think Soldier still needs a lot of help. I think the new DPS passive does help him. I don't think he's overly bad. I kind of want to put him in B tier. I don't think he has the burst damage to compete with by being in the A tier, and he just has really terrible matchups in like some cases. So he's a fair character. You can play him. He's a very honest hero. He's not bad. Like you'll definitely feel areas where your power falls off, but he's B tier. B tier is like okay, like yeah, they're fine. Like they could use a little bit more help, or the characters in SNA could take some small nerfs to come down to their level, or we can just power creep the game. And yeah, I have a prediction coming up for the upcoming patch. I think the game's gonna get hyper power creep, but that's gonna be tomorrow's video, right? Lucio, I don't think Lucio's bad. I think he's an A tier character. He's definitely a lot more niche and situational than before. But the current state of like tanks just slows the game down so much where you just want to rely so much on sustain. And Lucio, like while he can be good for just creating those more faster paced comms, even with the slop tanks, I can't put him in S tier as much as I'd like to. I just think the game is demanding the rest of the cast to slow down, because anytime you try to play more proactively, you just feed, right? So That's just my opinion, right? I'm going for a little bit more hot takes this tier list. Like usually I'm a lot more tame, but this time let's try a little bit more hot takes, right? Rodok, I think he's A tier. I don't think he's at the level of the meta tanks, but I don't think he's that far off either. He's in a very good spot. Again, lethality, survivability, he's got it all. A good hog specialist can make your life a living hell. Honestly, like he's pretty damn good. Especially if you ban out Ana, there's literally nothing that stops this guy from taking over lobbies, at least in ranked and uncoordinated play, right? So Hog, I think he's pretty damn good. Junkrat, situational niche. Unfortunately, he's just fallen off hard. When Poke becomes meta, Junkrat is not a fan. And unfortunately, it's the state of the game. There's really nothing we can do for Junkrat at the moment that doesn't involve maybe a massive rework or too many changes. I think the balance team is just, they have their priorities all over the place. I don't think they overly care about Junkrat at the moment. They're like, yeah, we can help him, but we don't really care about pushing him up a tier or two. But honestly, I would be open to a Junkrat meta because I just kind of want to see the chaos that ensues if that was to ever happen. But that would have to require Junkrat getting giga buffed. But you know what? I'm at that point in the game now where I'm like, just do it, bro. Just like F it. Like we've somehow made Torbjorn A tier for the past few seasons, and Symmetra is genuinely in the meta even at pro play. Why not just throw Junkrat in there? Fuck it. Like let's just go crazy, right? Diva. Diva's very good A tier character. She's not meta relevant, but she's incredibly strong in ranked and just everything else. So I have a really big rant for Diva coming soon, but holy crap, Diva is so good, right? But again, the block stop tanks and Orisa are on a different level. Like I think right behind them, if there was a tier between S minus and A plus, Diva's in there. Diva's very, very, very good. Very little downtime. Really scary tank right now. I really hope they are able to address super tanks in season 18. Moving on to Mei, I think Mei is an A tier character. She has a very good spot right now in the game where she's pretty good at poking. Again, just any character that has good sustain on themselves, Mei, decent poke, Mei, and can also just slow the game down and play around her particular gimmick, again, Mei, then they're able to take over lobbies really well. Problem with playing Mei is you have to play Mei and deal with playing Mei, but honestly, she's really not that difficult to play. You just need to get your walls down, and then you can generally server admin. Her perks literally bring her back to her prime like state, and especially if you're playing into a Ramatra, oh my god, you can make Ramatra's life a living hell and farm him for free. So Mei, in my opinion, is an A tier character. Genji. Okay, I've been rating Genji as A tier, but I can't for the life of me put him in A tier now. I think he's definitely taken a bit of a hit this patch in particular, with the game slowing down the way it has and more emphasis and people understanding how to play the game. Even at pro play, Genji's fallen off hard, right? And that's just because Sim has taken over. Venture actually took over Genji's niche, and Genji's problem has always been that he's not consistent, right? And we've always discussed on this channel that Genji is more of a byproduct. He's never a meta-defining hero. A lot of people just don't seem to understand that. And one of his like reasons to be a part of like a meta and complemented is the fact that he can do a good job of sustaining himself and like surviving. But now there's just better options, and we'll get to those better options. One of them is Symmetra. One of them is easily Symmetra, coming in for that flex DPS slot. Just better survivability, better lethality, better consistency. Not just that, but she has a really good matchup into the Genji as well. And then the next character, like spoilers alert, and maybe this might be a crazy hot take. I think Venture is S tier. Venture is incredibly consistent now with the new fire rate. Very, very lethal with their combos. Really annoying to deal with, and they have really good survivability. And at least at the moment, any character that can slow the game down, have good lethality, can survive, can move, can just like do whatever they want, escape, rinse and repeat. That's where the game is. Like, even if you look at Cassidy, another thing that Cassidy has going for himself is the survivability, right? Same thing with Venture. That's like any character that brings that right now, that they can take the more longer extended duels, they're going to have a great time. And Genji doesn't like that. Genji doesn't want longer duels, right? He wants shorter, more fast-paced duels so he can actually like contribute, get easy kills and get in or get out. He can do that right now, right? That's why I've always voted him in the A tier, but he's just gotten outclassed right now, right? It doesn't help that Mei also makes his life a living hell. So there are better options, even in pro play and even in ranked. There's unfortunately better options than Genji. That doesn't mean you can't make Genji work. It's just like, if a character is way too honest, they're just dropping down to the B tier, kind of feels like, right? So I don't know. I personally think he's dropped hard. It's a bit sad that he's completely like, to some extent he's completely disappeared from pro play. But it is what it is. That's the nature of balance patches, right? So it is what it is. Ana, I think Ana's A tier. She's not necessarily a quote-unquote meta support. She can definitely hold her weight at the very least in ranked, but her cooldowns can be really punishing to her. So I think they might buff Ana's cooldowns and tone them down a little bit so she can use them more frequently. Again, and not to mention, like, I just think there's better supports to support the current meta tank line. I'm kind of super thinking about Orisa, Ram, and Mauga, and while you can 100% play Ana with and into them, I don't think they're the be all end all, right? So that doesn't mean Ana's bad. Personally, I just think Ana's A tier, right? Again, just personally, I think there's better options to drawing out duels and going crazy. Moving to Sombra, Sombra is again just niche situational. This character's lost a lot of power over time. We've talked about Sombra in detail in a video. I'm not gonna do that over here. It's sad. Like, please hurry up her rework. I don't think any character deserves to be this bad. Like, I think Sombra and Rat are in just really awkward spots right now, right? Moving on over to Orisa, meta-defining tank. We've been ranting about her for a couple of videos now. I don't need to go into a lot of detail. I think she's the queen of the game at the moment. Doomfist, I don't think Doom is that bad, but it's just not his meta, and that really holds him back from shining. To the point that I don't know if I want to put him in A or B tier, but honestly, a blistering hot take, maybe B tier. Honestly, B plus or A minus. So we'll just put him in the, like, A minus or something. Moira, B tier character. I think she's fine. She's a ranked demon. There's games where you can somehow take over with her. I don't think she's one of the better supports to play. But she's like, she's fine. Like, you can play her. She brings good AoE healing. She can fend for herself. She can deal with flankers. She's okay. Like, nothing in the A or S tier, just B tier, right? Like, okay. B is like, they're okay. You can play them, you can make them work, but they're not like to that level where they have a little bit more oomph, right? A tier is where it's like they have a little bit more power compared to B tier, and they can definitely have more impact. And then S tier is like, okay, this is definitely like the best of the best, like meta-defining characters right now. Brigitte, same thing, A tier character. We've talked about Brig extensively. Don't really have much to say. She really likes to play with the dive, against dive. It's not necessarily the name and face of the game at the moment. It is a brawl poke hybrid meta, so unfortunately, it is what it is, and it's all about sustain, right? Brig also, in my opinion, I think Brig just likes faster and shorter fights, and when she can't have that, eventually, like, resources get drawn out and she gets exposed and she gets dived upon, or just outpoked, and there's nothing she can do about it. Wrecking Ball, same thing as Doomfist. I think Ball and Doom just suffer from the same problem. Like, they don't mind if a tank can survive, but they do mind if that tank that's surviving can just ignore them and walk over their team. And I've seen that happen in way too many ranked games. So it just is what it is. Like, I don't think Doom and Ball are bad tanks. I just think they can't go to S tier. They just don't have the breakpoints or the survivability or the lethality to deal with what is in the S tier, in my opinion, right? Ashe. Honestly, Ashe is really weird. I think Ashe is a character that, as the game has been evolving, has been dropping off hard. With Mercy, I'm going to put her in A tier. Without Mercy, I think I might even go as far, in 5v5 at least, drop her down to the B tier. She's kind of really struggling. And again, Sojourn and Freya have just completely taken over that spot that Ashe used to have. So I don't know. Again, I said in this particular tier list, I might be going for a little bit more stronger hot takes so we can discuss, and you guys can flame me for being wrong in the comments if you want. I might drop Ashe in the B tier. I kind of just think, like, she's been outclassed by a lot of other things. Even Cassidy is better in some circumstances where Ashe was being played, even at pro play. So it's just kind of crazy to see Ashe fall off this hard. I don't think Ashe needs buffs. I just think the game around her is just evolved in a weird way. And if the game kind of goes back to being a little bit more medium to fast paced, I think Ashe can come back. But she's really competing now with Freya and Sojourn for that one particular spot, right? Which is just sad to see. Baptiste, S tier character. We've discussed extensively why Bap is good, really good with the current meta tank lines, extremely underrated. I don't know why people don't play him in ranked a lot more, but whenever I get a Bap, we have the Ram, Orisa, and Sigma, and even the Mauga. Just Bap enables all of them so well and brings such good high AoE healing and sustain and good dual ability, like really good lethality and good breakpoints. Bap is just so underrated. Maybe it's the region I play in, but do you guys get a lot of Baps? Bap is just so good. I think he's extremely underrated as a character right now. Sigma, honestly, A tier. I don't think I can ever move Sigma up and down, but he can hold his own pretty decently against the tanks that are meta. But sadly, in the longer drawn-out fights, eventually if a Mauga, Hazard, or even Orisa get on him, there's really nothing you can do because his fire rate is so pathetically slow that he can't out-damage Orisa, Mauga, Hazard, these type of tanks by jumping on him. Even a good Winston Doomfist can bully him, but I think a good Sigma can hold his own. Like, he's one of those characters you can definitely play and make work, right? So that's just my personal opinion. I think Sigma's always kind of been an A tier tank, especially because he's held together by glues and duct tape of being a great tank on the poke maps, right? So there's that. Moving on over to Echo. Echo, okay, so Echo is a demon in 6v6, but I think Echo in 5v5s is in an awkward spot. I might put her in B tier. Giant, triangular, airplane size hitbox, really bad damage breakpoints, really weak in being able to secure a kill by herself, needs a lot of resource investment to work. I actually think Farah is in a better spot than her. Okay, I have not like sorted all these things out, but you know, I don't think I will. I'll just speed run all of this. But I think Echo's in a really awkward spot. I think characters in B tier need a little bit of love. That's my personal opinion right now. Anybody I put in B tier, I think they're okay, but they could use some love. Maybe with the exception of Moira, because skill floor hero, I'm sorry. But I do think these characters like in here, they're with the current state of the game, with the ever-changing balance, like the ever-changing game environment, balance patch wise, and even like perk changes that are coming soon, unless they get some help in some way, shape, or form in there, I think these guys are going to be in beta for a while, and the A tier characters are much better than them right now. I still can't believe Hanzo is in a position where he's much better than Ashe. I'll say it, like I think Hanzo's better than Ashe right now. Moving on over, Sojourn, S tier character. She's been S tier for a while now, and her new perks got leaked. We're gonna talk about that also in tomorrow's video. Man, I have so many videos coming up. Like, I really am worried about the future of perks. Sojourn's getting power crept in the next patch. Assuming she didn't get nerfed in any balance numbers, the fact that her perks are going to make her even stronger, yikes. So we'll talk about Sojourn tomorrow, okay? Junker Queen, unfortunately, B tier character. Same problem. She can't compete with the level of sustain on other tanks. It's really hard to make her work. A good Junker Queen specialist can make her feel like an A tier character, but there's just way too many things that can counter her. A good Ryan, Zarya, Ram, a Sigma that knows how to take like the right angles and stun her. Like, it's so hard for Queen to get into. Her buffs were nice, but I can't put her in A tier. I think she's B. Like I said, B tier is the okay, they're fine, but they don't have that extra oomph that the A tier has, right? With the amount of control and power they can have over the game. Kiriko, okay, so I've been putting Kiriko in A tier, but I think in this particular patch, Kiriko is slowly finding her place in the game. Maybe hot take, but I think Kiriko's kinda in S tier back, right? And not because Kiriko is OP, okay? Like I know she's annoying, I fully agree, okay? I just think Kiriko fits into the meta a little bit better than other supports and is generally a better pick for the current state of the game. But she can just weave in and out depending on circumstances, right? So it's a little bit composition dependent because maybe she can drop to A tier. But at the moment, I think you can 100% make Kiriko work, especially if I'm looking at this from a rank perspective. So yeah, that's just my opinion on it. And I told you guys I would go for a little bit more hot takes here, because usually my tier lists are kind of becoming a little bit more predictable, and I don't really do like hot takes, so we have a little bit hot takes in here. Ramatra, S tier character, no need to explain this. I think you've seen everybody complain about Ram and Ursa and Hazard, so we're just gonna toss Hazard in S tier as well and ignore him, okay? Life Fever, I think Life Fever is A tier. I have a dedicated video coming out to explain why Life Fever is finally good. But I believe that a lot of the people that play Life Fever play him objectively the wrong way, right? So if we can perhaps educate the community a little bit on why Life Fever is good in the near future, then maybe people can understand how to make him work better. But I don't think he's a bad support. I wouldn't... I don't know if I want to put him in B tier or not, because his ult is incredibly powerful and he's not that bad surviving against a lot of the things that is good, and he can very easily reset your tanks and like your flankers to a good position if you coordinate it really well. And he had that niche with Freya where Freya could go really deep with her bolts, and then he would pull the Freya back and give her like another high ground angle. So he has that really interesting niche with Freya as well. I don't know, again, I did say that I'm going to throw some hot takes in this one, so Life Fever, A tier. A minus tier maybe. So yeah, Iliari S tier. Iliari is I will say I'm pleasantly surprised to be wrong about Iliari. I think it just took a little bit of time for Iliari to find her place in the game and where she was and is meant to shine. And I think now that we've kind of figured it out, Iliari on the poke maps with the current sustain based tanks, because she's good at surviving and she brings 2 forms of healing into the game and all this like like she's just really good at surviving as well, and then poking things out and being a great follow-up like shot, and her ult just has really good playmaking potential, especially if Kiriko's not in the lobby. Then my goodness, especially if you guys are watching the tournaments, like yesterday Lynx made an insane play with 𝐒𝐈𝐈, and then we had like other cases of good 𝐒𝐈𝐈 play. So I think 𝐒𝐒𝐈𝐈 is in a lot better of a spot than people want to give her credit for. I think she's S tier. I don't think she needs any nerfs or anything. I just think the state of the game is what's making her S tier. I think if the game was to become faster again, I think 𝐒𝐒𝐈𝐈 drops to A or B tier. Because before, when the game was a little bit faster and less about sustain, 𝐒𝐒𝐈𝐈 was just kind of awkward because 𝐒𝐒𝐈𝐈 likes longer and more drawn out fights, so she has more time to hit those like 2-3 tap shots across the map. But if the fights are shorter, then she's forced to either heal bot or to just constantly walk backwards and kite, because if she gets like dove upon, then or even just run into by a brawl tank, there's really not much she can do about it, right? Especially with the tank passives that like make them not being able to get booped that much. So yeah, that's the 𝐒𝐒𝐈𝐈 explanation. Mauga, I think Mauga's not that bad. I think people underestimate Mauga's power. I think he's in a very, very strong spot. But it's like, this is the thing. I feel like once the Orisa, Ram, Hazard like meta kind of tones down, a lot of the tanks I put in A tier will begin to shine a lot more. So keep an eye on D.Va and Mauga, because I personally think they're sleeper picks and how good they can be. Juno is a really awkward one. I think she's A+, S-. I just think it's not Juno's meta. But I don't think she's a bad, like if you're playing ranked and you want to make her work, like Juno's one of those characters that isn't necessarily bad per se. But just the game has slowed down and speed doesn't overly matter unless it's like certain circumstances and situations. And I could like go on about this for like a good 30 minutes, so I'm not going to. I think she's an A tier character in worst cases when it can feel like a B tier character, but I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna put her in A-. I just think she's a bit of an awkward spot. I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's to the point where I can put her in B tier. I just think she's A-. Freya, I don't know. I can't put her in S tier. Her neutral value is really bad. If anybody's that actually plays Flare will understand that you're now fully reliant on the 2-tap, and if even one of the 2-tap misses and it's not a headshot, it's horrible playing her right now. I can't put her in S tier. I know she's strong. I agree that she's strong. But low-key, I play both of these characters. I'm actually under the fundamental belief, at least in rank, not in pro play, right? Pro play is a little bit different because of coordination and shit like that, and obviously people being just so good at the damn game. At the very least in ranked, I think Hanzo is having a better time than Freya is, but like Freya still, at least with the Mercy Pocket, can really take over, so I'll put Freya above Hanzo for that regard. But that's going to be it for my tier list video, guys. This is definitely a lot more hot takes focus, so I might just mention that at the beginning of the video that, you know, there is going to be a lot of hot takes in here just to kind of spice things up and we can just talk about it. So do bear that in mind. Otherwise, I could always do a more tame tier list, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit silly with this tier list. Now, with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.